90-Day Fiance, Shakina's chaotic romance with Sarper's impacting her health, should they break up? The never-ending saga between 90-Day Fiance's Shakina Garner and Sarper Guven continues to play out on the current season, with Sarper and Shakina's relationship going to another level as Sarper moved from Turkey to live with Shakina in Los Angeles. Sarper and Shakina first met on a dating app, and their story was covered on 90-Day Fiance, The Other Way Season 5, when Shakina attempted to live with Sarper in Turkey. Shakina and Sarper faced criticism over Sarper's controlling ways and the fact that Shakina's family didn't approve of him. On 90-Day Fiancé Season 11, Sarper is having a fish-out-of-water experience in LA, and it's having a major impact on his and Shakina's relationship. Sarper was a notorious ladies' man back in Turkey. He even boasted about having slept with 2,500 women before settling down with Shakina. It was very emotional for Sarper to leave Turkey, because he's extremely close with his parents. Still, Sarper chose Shakina and moved to the US for her. Shakina and Sarper just moved in together. Shakina is a licensed skincare esthetician, and she operates a studio out of her small apartment in Los Angeles. When Sarper moved in, it became more cramped, and he didn't have the freedom to move about in the apartment, especially if Shakina was seeing a client. In order to help Sarper adjust to life in Los Angeles, Shakina decided to move her studio to a separate space. She said she was moving it in the hopes that it helps to improve the dynamic between she and Sarper. Now that Shakina has an office that's separate from their living space, she's hoping that Sarper won't feel so stifled. She would make him leave the house whenever she saw a client, so he won't have to do that anymore. Shakina is making big sacrifices for the sake of their relationship. Shakina's family doesn't like Sarper. On 90-Day Fiancé, The Other Way, Shakina's sister Shariah visited them in Turkey. Sarper failed to make a good impression on Shariah, and she left questioning whether his intentions with Shakina were pure. Shariah went back home and reported back to the family about Sarper's temper and the toxicity in his relationship with her sister, Shakina. Shakina's daughter, Sophie, now has a negative impression of Sarper based on her aunt Shariah's feedback. Sophie tells them that she wants to give her blessing, she needs more time. Sarper tries using his time in Los Angeles to make amends with Shakina's family, but it isn't so easy. When they go to Montana to visit where Shakina grew up, they meet up with 3 of her sisters. Sarper admits that he feels pressure to make this a Sarper redemption tour. Shakina admits that her sisters are protective, and they already have negative emotions towards Sarper, so it will be like an uphill battle for him to get their approval. Shariah said she hoped to see some growth from Sarper, who showed up to the meeting wearing an American flag shirt. Sarper's meeting with her sisters goes bust when he asks them if they have geisha vibes like Shakina, and then says that he preferred the old obedient Shakina. Shakina admitted she's losing her hair from stress. The stress of her relationship with Sarper is starting to weigh on Shakina. After a huge fight, Sarper told Shakina that if she broke up with him, she'd regret it forever. Shakina bristled at Sarper's comment, saying she's not some helpless woman. Sarper visited Shakina at her new office, and after getting jealous of her handyman's good looks, he asks if she's wearing the long blonde wig she has on for her handyman. Shakina said she's actually wearing it because she's losing her hair from the stress of moving her business and their relationship, so she wants to give her natural hair a break by wearing the wig. If Shakina is actually losing her hair from the stress of her relationship with Sarper, it's a major red flag. A person's body can have a physical response if they're in an unhealthy relationship, which appears to be the case with Shakina. She is very casual about stating that she's losing her hair, but if it's true that Sarper is the cause, she needs to take action and get herself out of this relationship. I can't help but think 90-Day Fiancé's Shakina and Sarper are turning into Jasmine and Gino. 90-Day Fiancé's Shakina Garner and Sarper Guven have officially taken their story to America, and I'm noticing some similarities to another tumultuous couple. Sarper and Shakina originally appeared on the 90-Day Fiancé, The Other Way spin-off when Shakina flew to Turkey to move in with Sarper. The pair met when she was on a trip to Istanbul, and they continued a long-distance relationship until their first segment in the 90-Day Fiancé franchise. From the beginning, their relationship seemed to be on thin ice, and the turmoil between the two grew. They both had extremely jealous personalities and didn't want their partner working with the opposite SE. Sarper also had a risque past that was hard for Shekinah to look beyond, especially with literal knickknacks of his conquests in his apartment. I didn't think their relationship would continue, but they'd decided to swap roles. Life in Turkey proved to be too difficult for them to maintain, so Shekinah applied for a K1 visa, and Sarper was accepted. In their current appearance, Sarper is in America, and they're preparing to get married within the allotted 90 days. However, Sarper has only been in America for a few days, and during that time, a different couple emerged. As their storyline continues, I can't help but notice major similarities to another tumultuous 90 Day Fiance franchise couple, Gino Palazzolo and Jasmine Pineda. 90 Day Fiance's Sarper has changed. 90 Day Fiance's Shekinah Garner and Sarper Guven have officially taken their story to America, and I'm noticing some similarities to another tumultuous couple. Sarper and Shekinah originally appeared on the 90 Day Fiancé, the Other Way spin-off when Shekinah flew to Turkey to move in with Sarper. The pair met when she was on a trip to Istanbul, and they continued a long-distance relationship until their first segment in the 90 Day Fiancé franchise. From the beginning, their relationship seemed to be on thin ice, and the turmoil between the two grew. They both had extremely jealous personalities and didn't want their partner working with the opposite SE. The only area they can relax comfortably is the bedroom. They can't cook, and Sarper must be out of the house while Shekinah is working. Sarper went along with these changes, but his arrogant behavior has dwindled considerably. Meanwhile, Shekinah essentially lied, which, in the past, Sarper would have been confrontational about. While needing privacy for Shekinah's line of work is certainly understandable, Sarper is essentially neglected and put off to the side. Overall, I can't help but notice the similarities to Gino and Jasmine. With Sarper being more docile, he acts like Gino would in certain situations. It seems like Shekinah has put most of her needs above her fiancé's, which is like how Jasmine would throw fits if coupled to have a stressful wedding experience. The best drama television has to offer, so make sure to keep up with it. Things didn't work in her favor. 90 Day Fiancé's Shekinah has double standards. Sarper and Shekinah have always had an interesting dynamic and already shared similarities with Gino and Jasmine. Both couples have jealous personalities. Jasmine and Shekinah had plastic surgery and body enhancements done, have struggled with insecurities, and can be strong-willed. However, I'm noticing even more double standards arising now with the role reversal between Sarper and Shekinah. When Shekinah moved to Turkey, she was adamant about having certain comfort items, like a vanity. She made endless demands of Sarper, like him going to therapy or getting rid of his collection of Sewell escapades. If he didn't live up to her expectations, she wasn't a pleasant person to be around. Shekinah didn't want him training other women, cutting his clientele in half, and she didn't allow him to be friends with women, especially exes. Shekinah expected Sarper to make her life in Turkey as comfortable as possible. However, her apartment is also her workspace, and she kicks him out when clients are over. Shekinah still has friends of the opposite sex and even allowed her ex to interrogate her fiancé. If this double standard isn't the epitome of Jasmine and Gino's relationship, I don't know what is. Jasmine can be jealous, but she hangs out with men at the gym and even pushed for an open marriage. Sarper and Shekinah's relationship is starting to escalate, and I'm not convinced the duo will get married this season. With Jasmine and Gino's relationship potentially over, I wonder if Shekinah and Sarper will take their place and the show's tumultuous pairing. While Sarper has developed a more docile attitude, I suspect he won't stay in America. At some point, Gino stopped allowing certain behaviors, so it's possible for Sarper to find his voice again. Unfortunately, I think when he does, the couple will follow the same broken path as Gino and Jasmine. 90 Day Fiancé. The Other Way's Luke and Madeline are fighting over money, but I think they have a larger issue. Warning. The following contains spoilers for the 90 Day Fiancé, The Other Way episode Bon Binny. Stream the episode with an HBO Max subscription, and read at your own risk. Luke Barry and Madeline Perez are back following their appearance on 90 Day Fiancé, Love in Paradise Season 4, and much to my surprise, they're closer than ever to walking down the aisle. That said, nothing is set in stone as of the latest episode, and it's possible the entire wedding may be off due to a discrepancy in the budget. The latest fight between the couple has me questioning if they should skip the step where they get married and just split, because Luke and Madeline have a fundamental issue they're not addressing. They're always at each other's throats at the slightest disagreement, and it's not hard to see that neither one is used to losing an argument. Luke and Madeline struggle to compromise on just about anything. I was too busy writing about the mysterious hand in the backseat of one of their scenes during their last appearance to point it out, but both Luke and Madeline absolutely hate to lose an argument. Last season, it was the whole conversation about Madeline signing a prenuptial agreement, and this time around, it was over the proposed budget of their wedding. In reality, it seemed the solution for this issue was simple. If Luke and Madeline didn't have the extra $1,000 needed for the wedding they planned, then they needed to cut something from the ceremony. Rather than work with the planner on that, the couple began to argue about who was at fault, and whether it was Luke for never sending Madeline the $1,000, or her for spending it on other items. No, they didn't already get married. For 90 Day Fiance fans who could have sworn Luke and Madeline already tied the knot in an extravagant beachside event complete with a helicopter, I believed the same. After looking it up, I can now confirm that it was the proposal. When a proposal is that extravagant, I can see why they'd feel like the wedding needs to up the ante. Unfortunately, marriage can get more complicated than a simple disagreement over how much a wedding should cost. At this point, I'm not even sure what either's plan is for a job, or if they're going to pull a Jenny and Sumit Singh and move in with Madeline's parents. I can give them some grace for now because Luke and Madeline aren't the first 90 Day Fiancé.